Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturist Felder Rushing, and we are going to be talking about gardening. And Java, I mentioned something about the frog in my throat, right?
Yeah, you were sounding a little kind of.
Well, you know, I've got a thing. Let me see if I can. Here we go. This is from the Gospel of Allergies, right?
What you got?
No pollen formed against me shall prosper. Benadrylations 24/7.
I was going to ask you the chapter and the verse now.
Benadrylations 24/7. No pollen shall prosper against me, but it will give me a frog in my throat. It is so polleny out there. Even though it just rained, it seemed like the rain released a lot of pollen.
Yeah, but then also these cold temperatures just kind of came out of nowhere. I was going to ask you, do you think it was probably not a shock to the plants? You know, I mean, it was 80 like 2 days ago.
Well, this is actually not their biggest shock. If it drops down from 70-something down to 30-something, that's a shock. But, you know, sort of think like the dog. You know, if you throw the dog out in it, the plants can take it. But if it's going to drop that quick, keep the dog inside.
And your plants.
And your plant. No, it's, you know, I noticed up in North Mississippi, there's a lot of chatter on the Mississippi Gardening Facebook about it's going to freeze or frost or whatever. And sooner or later it will. It's time. You know, middle of November is when we usually get our first average frost. But what's going to happen is it's going to warm up after that. You know, it always happens. And unless it freezes, it's not that big a deal to plants because there's a lot of warmth in the soil. The soil is radiating heat, especially if you live in town or your plants up on the porch, a lot of radiated warmth. So unless it just absolutely freezes, a frost is not that big a deal. You know, if you got some plants that are exposed or tender, you got some lettuce out there, they can take it. Matter of fact, lettuce actually gets sweeter after a frost. So it's just, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about what's going to happen in the next frost or two. And it will warm up. People have got plants in pots, tropical plants. You know, their hibiscuses out there. They got their aloe and, you know, tender tropical plants. If you're not ready to bring them in, cluster them up against the house. You know, put them on the carport. Put them, you know, where they can get a little ready. You know, just cluster them together. But a lot of folks are getting ready to bring their plants in, and the plants aren't ready. They need watering. They got fire ants in the potting soil. There's lizards in there. Some of them need pruning. They got to drop their leaves. You know.
I know all about the lizards in the flower pots. We got plenty of those, man.
Yeah, you know, there's and you got enough kids and with crystals where they get a lot of noises.
I've put my hands on many a lizards to move from this place to that place.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever had one where a tail pops off in your hand?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, that's a freaky thing because it keeps wiggling around. So that's a defense thing because a lizard will pop his tail off. Whatever's after it will go after the wiggly worm-looking thing.
Yeah.
And then they'll grow a tail back.
I mean, it's just a weird world.
Hey, don't you wish we could pop off our attitudes and grow new ones?
That should be like almost a requirement sometimes.
Yes. Well, listen, I've got plenty of stuff to talk about. I got a little bouquet of stuff I grabbed out of the yard. I've got a little adventure down to Natchez involving a bottle tree and a stumpery and some ailments that came out of that. But it is a call-in program, and if you want to give us a call, it's toll-free, 1-877-MPB-RING. And why don't we just start off right off? I mean, Java, you and I could chat all morning, but let's go up to Corinth and see what Mike's up to. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing?
So far,
I've got a frog also. My question is, I've got an old ligustrum stump that has started sprouting again, but also out from it, about a foot from it, sprouts are coming up, I guess, from the roots. And there's also a lilac bush there, too, but the leaves from the sprouts look more like ligustrum.
Yeah.
My question is, can I dig those up and transplant them?
That's a good question, and you might be able to do it. If they're sprouting off the roots, though, unfortunately, you got to get a whole piece of that root, and that means you're taking some of the root away from the old thing. So, you know, I would try it on one. Do a couple of things first, and this sounds, you know, almost too obvious, but a lot of times it is worth saying. take a file and sharpen your shovel. Make a clean cut. Don't just jump up and down on the back of your shovel and rogue it out of the ground. Try to make a clean cut all the way around before you lift it out of the ground. Cut straight down around the sprout, half a shovel deep, whatever, and then cut up under it so you can lift up a root ball that's intact, that's got a piece of the root without the dirt falling off of it. Does that make sense?
Should I do it this time of the year or wait till spring?
No, I do it, sometime after you get a frost, maybe this week. Once the plants go dormant, they don't have as much stress on them. So I don't think I'd do it, on a hot day. But if you go ahead and dig the hole where they're going to, you can move it pretty much any time. Let's say December, January would be ideal. But if you want to go ahead and do it now, it's not a problem. But the main thing is cut straight down all the way around before you dig it up. Matter of fact, when I'm digging stuff, when I cut straight down, I put my foot between the shovel and the plant when I pull the shovel out so it doesn't pull some of that dirt up with it. And because you want to try to keep a nice, tight little root ball there with as many of those little tiny fine hair roots as you can. But other than that, as long as you don't booger it up too much, got a pretty good chance.
This was, I had years ago, had two ligustrums on either side of a carport ramp, and I'd trained them into tree form.
Yeah.
They'd gotten pretty big, but I had to wind up cutting them down, and this I just noticed in the last year or two started sprouting back. But,
yeah.
Like I say, there's also a little short lilac bush there, but the leaves look more like ligustrum.
Yeah, and other people listening around the state, he's talking about lilac because he lives up in the ice box. Don't think you can grow lilacs in Jackson or Meridian or Natchez because they got to have cold weather. You're Tishomingo, Corinth. All of that area, Iuka, that's lilac country. Everything else just not cold enough. Anyway, here's the deal. I've got wax ligustrum, regular ligustrum trees that were planted around my house before I bought it over nearly 40 years ago. And I lost a couple of them last year just to bad weather. They get a certain age, they get 20, 30, 40 years old, they get weak, they get woody, and all it takes is a one drought and one hard freeze back to back, and it pushes them over the edge. So you might even want to think about time to replace those. They're not considered long-lived shrubs up in North Mississippi.
Yeah, this stump is probably maybe 6 inches wide.
Yeah.
And like I say, it was in tree form, about 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Just like mine. One of mine has got bottles on it. I bobbed the branches back. I did as a doornail. I bobbed the branches back and put Coca-Cola bottles on the branches. And it looks pretty. It looks prettier than it ever has. But anyway, ligustrum are noted in the northern third of the state for just good old sturdy ligustrum just browning out because of a combination over the years of bad weather when they get kind of woody.
Yeah, they were bad about the leaves turning kind of getting black specks.
No. This a whole different thing. When they turn brown and the leaves stick on it because of bad weather. But, they've always had little leaf spots and stuff. But anyway, you're up in the part of the country where ligustrums are and azaleas and a few other plants, camellias, they're kind of iffy. Sometimes they live for decades. Sometimes they just peter out suddenly, just seemingly overnight from a combination of stuff.
I love the white blooms of the bumblebees. All over them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, you answered my question. I appreciate it.
Okay, Mike. Appreciate your call. Stay warm this next week. I think you're going to get a little chilly weather next week, aren't you?
I think so.
Okay. Well, you're used to it. Good luck on it, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, and let's slide down to Greene County. Chris, you got fire ants as bad as I do popping up everywhere?
It's all this rain we've had over these last couple of days. I guess they're just popping up now.
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I've got a picture of fire ants that I sent to Java. I don't know if we could show, because we're live streaming. Anybody's live streaming can see. This is the picture of fire ant that's half the size of a manhole cover, and it's almost a foot tall, and it just popped up overnight.
They seem to pop up this time of year. I guess we start getting a little bit we're not quite as dry, so all the fire ants decide to go to where everything is dry.
Yeah.
Try and mound up. I've got a couple of pepper plants. I have two questions. After I told the gentleman what my question was, I had another one that popped up. But my main question at the moment is, I've got a couple of pepper plants that I'm planning to overwinter this year. I try to do a little bit of a bonsai with my pepper plants.
Yeah.
I try to overwinter them, but they do seem to have a little bit of fire ant activity in them. Diatomaceous earth, is that probably the best thing to use, or is there something else that I can do to really get rid of these fire ants?
Yeah, for folks who may not be aware, diatomaceous earth is like powdered sugar, and it has, if you look at it under a microscope, it's like it's little angular, like really really sharp shards of little glass, and
right,
and
like
insect,
fiberglass almost.
Yeah, and when insects crawl across it, it cuts them, and they basically leak till they die. Anyway, it's a terrible thing to do to an ant, but an ant's a terrible thing to do to a pepper. So here we are. Diatomaceous will work. It will work okay, but are you going to put these in pots, or they're already in pots?
A couple of them are in pots. A few of them are in my raised garden that I've got, but they're just some peppers that wouldn't necessarily be your run-of-the-mill pepper. I grow a lot of hot peppers.
Oh, yeah.
And I like to overwinter those because I like to have them started for the next season.
I do the same
thing.
So
I really try to keep them growing from season to season, but these fire ants really have decided to make some homes in a couple of spots I don't want them.
Okay, just a couple of bottom line. When you dig them up and put them in pots, if you just water them really good, the day before, that'll run the ants away, and just pot them up, and you're not going to take the mound with you when you dig them up. So I think you can probably just take care of them while you're repotting them. But if you want to put a little liquid insecticide, or try some diatomaceous earth, but the main thing is do it a few days ahead of time. If nothing else, make them move away from those plants. Irritate them worse than they irritate you, and see if you can make them move. But when you dig them up, put them in pots. You can have a few straggler ants, and if you just pot them up, water them really, really well, set them out, for a couple of 3 days to get over the transplant shock before you shift them indoors. I think that'll take care of it.
Okay. My other question is, I've got a couple of fig trees that I bought from our local Tractor Supply that are in the I guess that's a 2.5 gallon pot.
That's big, Yep.
And they're, they still have really pretty leaves on them and everything. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they have bloomed and made fruit yet, but best place in the yard to plant those, because they got to get out of those pots, and best time to plant them.
Yeah, good questions. And as you ask 10 gardeners that answer, you're going to get 10 different answers. So let me just tell you what I do. And I've been growing figs since, I helped my great-grandmother harvest figs and put up fig preserves over a wood-burning fire when I was 10 years old. And I love figs. They need to be in a wide hole. The wider the roots, stick your arms out, wiggle your fingers, and you get the idea. So go ahead and start digging the hole. And you don't have to add a lot of stuff to it. As long as you've got some pretty good, well-drained dirt, when you plant them, loosen up as much of that potting soil as you can and stir it into your dirt, and that's enough. And it helps the roots get out of a pot shape and in that potting soil drainage thing and get used to your dirt. So stir the potting soil into your dirt, plant them, and then mulch them with real tree leaves, because they decompose and they feed the soil, which is really important. You can cover it with prettier stuff if you want, but right at first, real tree leaves. As far as where they grow out in broiling hot, full sun, they grow up against a building really well, but they're not going to produce well unless they get at least, half a day or more sunshine. So full sun, nice wide hole, plenty of mulch, loosen up the roots, and they'll do great.
All right. Thank you, Felder. I appreciate you guys very much. I love listening to your show on Fridays. It's one of my favorite things.
Oh, I got to tell you something you're not going to like before you go. This winter, cut those things back to about 1 foot or 1.5 feet tall. Don't think...
No, that's how tall they are now, so it won't take too much. Just a good trim.
Okay, well, just snip the tips of them off. That way, next spring, they'll sprout out with some real strong side shoots. They'll be the main limbs for the rest of the tree's lives.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your information.
All right. Thanks for your call, man. Java, he was asking about fire ants. They do pop up after rain because they got to have drainage. But also, they're making the mounds up extra high because these are subtropical creatures, and they don't like cold, wet soil. So they're building up not only for drainage, but also that mound collects. It's like a solar heater for the mound.
To keep everything warm.
Keep everything warm. That's right. So they're just busy, trying to get. It's like they got sent to Mars and they're doing the best they can. But they do pop up real crazy right now, and it's a real issue to some folks.
And people need to make sure they have their calamine lotion.
Oh man,
just in case.
I got a story about that in just a minute. But and before we go to this next call, let me point out that I brought this picture of my grandmama's chicken. Yeah,
you did. You didn't bring the chicken. You just brought the picture.
No, this was the picture was taken by I forget. She works for Angela in.
Was it Lisa?
Lisa took this picture
Okay.
of Granny's chicken on the back of my truck. Reason I did that because I was scrolling through something the other day, and I found Granny's chicken in a movie.
What?
Yeah. Granny's chicken used my connections. Remember the movie A Time to Kill?
Yes.
At the very end, that the party scene out in the front yard and all.
Uh-huh.
You look in the background on the front porch, Granny's chicken.
Okay.
I work with the set decorators because they didn't know how to southern stuff up.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm going to take a deep dive. I love that movie, Time to Kill. I call it Free Carl Lee.
Yeah, when Carl Lee is walking out to meet the lawyer guy, look over his shoulder in the background. You see Granny's chicken right by the front porch. So I just wanted to show off a little bit.
There you go.
Granny's chicken used my connections to get into the movie. Hey, let's go down to Gaucher and talk with Steve. Steve, how you doing, man?
Weather, my dog is really spunky this morning.
Oh, yeah, it feels great. Put a dog out there in this kind of weather. They run in big circles because it feels good.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he does. Hey, I got a Christmas cactus. My mother was one of her favorites when she was living, and that thing's doing pretty good with my negligence. A little small pot, no more than a quart or half a quart pound or whatever, and kept in the window, whatever, and get watered about once or twice a year. Anyway, it's doing good, and I'm wondering about, transplanting it. Is it all right this time of year? And sun versus shade and water, and once I do that, because I want to keep this because it reminds me of my mom.
Okay, this is in a pot, though, right?
Yeah, a little small plastic.
Yeah.
Pot.
Yeah, here's the deal. Now, Steve, I'm going to have to answer off the air because we got a really bad connection. So just stay tuned, and I'll cover a few of the basics. And if it ain't good enough, call back. But we just got a bad connection. But I appreciate your call on that. Here's the deal, folks. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter cactus. These are tropical cacti that live in trees. They live in limbs of trees, or they hang off of cliffs. They don't need a lot of dirt. They don't need a big pot. They don't like a lot of water or fertilizer. And when they get stressed in the late summer, the days are cooler. They get drier. People forget to water them. The days start getting shorter. That's what causes them to set flower buds. So a lot of reason why they bloom this time of year around Easter is because the shorter days stimulate flower bud formation if they're also under stress from forgetting to be watered, or kept on the dry side, things like that. So shorter days, dry conditions, not much fertilizer. Once they start setting buds, you can start watering them and fertilizing. They'll go ahead and bloom. But anyway, as far as repotting, they grow really, really well in small pots. They'll grow for years because they just think they're on a tree limb. So if you want to put it in a bigger pot, it's a good idea to repot every few years because potting soil wears out. But don't put them in too big a pot. A little bit bigger, gently loosen up the roots. And who knows, that little bit of a stimulation might be enough to kick it into setting flower buds. Main thing is not too big a pot. They like bright light. Don't have to have full sun, but bright light. And don't keep it too wet. So gently loosen the roots, a little bit bigger pot. Try not to overwater it, put it in the window, and it should do fine. And by the way, in the process, you're going to break off some branches. Steve, you're going to break some branches off. Don't worry about it. Stick them in the pot that you just took them out of. Put you some potting soil in it. Stick the broken branches in that pot, and they'll root, and you'll have more to share with other people. I don't know if I covered that okay, Java.
I mean, you really just told them like it is. You will break some branches.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a caller on the line. We've come back. I'm going to talk a little bit about an adventure that I had this past week involving an authentic bottle tree. I mean an authentic one, okay? I'm horticulturist Felder Rushing, Java Chapman, and all the other good folks here at Mississippi Public Broadcasting. We welcome you to this program, and we're going to come back and take live calls about what's going on in your garden after a little short break. So stick with us, folks. We'll be right back. Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturist Felder Rushing. And we got a couple of callers on the line, but if you'll just hang on for a second, I just want to share a little thing. But first of all, Java, what's this thing about the quilt?
Well, we just got an email from, what's her name? Elaine. And the email reads, Felder, your talk at St. Catherine's was great. Everyone enjoyed it, especially the part where we got to see the truck up close and personal. Except
they stole cuttings out of it, by the way.
I was going to say, well, she says, well, it was a great talk, except for the part where you maligned parsley. She said, how are you going to make good pesto with your basil if you don't grow Italian parsley?
Oh, she's right about that, but because I said, who eats parsley? And I forgot about pesto. I just forgot about it. And plus, it's a good breath mint, but...
And then she said, your bandana makes a great statement for MPB and your program. Regards, Elaine, gardener and quilter. And inside of the email, she sent a picture of a quilt that she made using the Gestalt Gardener bandana.
Yeah.
As a part of it.
I wish this was in color. Because,
no, it is in color. I gave it to Blake and Sahana in the back, so they're putting it up on the live stream.
Well, I want to forward that to me. I got an email back when I was in England that said that there's a quilt display at the Mississippi Craftsman's Guild Center out near the Natchez Trace. And they said there was one that celebrated the Gestalt Gardener. Well, by the time I got back, the quilt display was over. But this is beautiful. It said, let's get dirty, the Gestalt Gardener. When in Mississippi, tune in to Think Radio on a quilt.
On a quilt. This is amazing because these are the bandanas that we give out, when we're out and about, and sometimes we're in Players Drive. So they took the bandana, and this is amazing.
Yeah. On one hand, I wish I'd seen it in person. On the other hand, I might not have been able to afford it, and I couldn't have turned it down. I could not have turned it down. But anyway, before I tell my story about the adventure, let's take a couple of callers, and then we'll talk about that after the cheesy music.
Okay.
Because we're here to talk with folks about what's going on in their gardens real life. We're going to start out with
Michael.
Michael in Hattiesburg. Michael, thank you for holding, man. What's going on?
Felder, I just want to thank you for y'all doing this week in and week out. Where else does somebody go to England and still do a call-in show?
And know what's going on, because I've been gardening Mississippi all of my life, and I know what's happening. It's terrible sometimes.
Well, it's such an enjoyable program, and I learned so much listening to you. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Is that?
I've got two. Okay. I've got two questions.
Bring them on.
Okay. The first one, I think it's called bitterweed. I call it mimosa weed. Is
that
the same?
Chamber bitter or mimosa weed.
Chamber bitter. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there something I should spray in the yard, the lawn now to get rid of it, or do I wait till the spring or early like
Okay.
February and do a pre-emergent?
This is a good question. A lot of people are familiar with it. I sometimes I have it in my yard. That's one of the few weeds. I've only got a handful that when I see it, I don't care what I'm doing or where I'm going. I stop. I pull it. Because once it gets established, it is a real booger to get rid of. It look like little small mimosa trees, and under each leaflet, it's got these tiny little balls of seeds, and every one got just a jillion seeds in it. Here's the deal. You can kill the plant, but it's still going to have the seeds on it. And so you're going to keep having it forever unless you get to the point where you don't have any more making seeds. You can put out a pre-emerge, not a weed and feed. Don't fertilize your grass till April, but sometime in late January, February, very early March, you can put out a pre-emerge that keeps weed seeds from sprouting. Doesn't kill existing weeds, but it'll keep a lot of those seeds from sprouting. But the problem is the pre-emerge only lasts for 2 or 3 or 4 months. So you need to do it again in the middle of the summer to keep more from sprouting later in the season. So it's really hard to put down something that's going to keep them all from sprouting. But pre-emerge in mid to late winter and again in the middle of the summer, that'll go a long ways to keep new plants from coming on. And you're in Hattiesburg. There's a good chance if we have a mild winter, some of those existing plants may not freeze. So it's a tough one. There are some sprays you can put on them after they come up and after the grass has been mowed, but if you're not careful, you can hurt the lawn because it's chemotherapy. You can overdo the treatment and hurt the patient. So it's a tough one, man. It is a real tough one.
And my other question, monkey grass, when should I cut it back?
Well, you don't ever have to cut it back. That's just a cosmetic thing. But they put up almost all their new growth at one time in the spring, and then that's it till the next year. So ideally, you'll wait till wintertime, cut it down, sometime in, late December, January, early February, before the new leaves come up, which is usually in March. If you snip the tips off that new growth, it's going to look ragged till next year. So try to do it sometime after we get a frost by the middle of the winter, so the new growth can come up nice and clean.
Thank you very much. Again,
Okay.
I really enjoy your show.
I appreciate that a whole bunch, and good luck with the chamber bitter.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Okay, now let's also, before we do our cheesy tune real quick, go to Kay. She's been hanging on from Boonville for quite some time. Good morning, Kay. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine. Hope you are too.
So far, so good. Not so bad.
Oh, that's good. I may have misunderstood, but I thought you were talking about fire ant bites earlier.
Just fire ants in general.
Just fire ants in general. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll go ahead and offer my little tip for fire ant bites. But of course, you have to be outdoors to pick the plantain. But plantain, I'll use the long leaf. If you know what, I'm sure you know what it is.
Oh yeah.
Probably not everybody does, so they need to identify it before they try it. But crush that plantain leaf and rub it on the fire ant bite.
Mm-hmm.
And within a few minutes, it's relieved, and it stays relieved for several hours.
Huh.
Just an alternative to, medicine.
Yeah. Well,
Normal medicine.
At the same time, when you're using herbal medicines, you're using medicines because it's the active ingredients in those that are actually medicines. So natural and synthetic, they're still medicines. They're still chemical compounds. So anyway, but you're right. A lot of people don't want to use synthetic stuff, so they go with natural.
But in the wintertime, the plantain doesn't grow. I mean, it is kind of a cool weather plant, but it dies in the wintertime. So my granddaughter and I picked a lot of the longleaf plantain and dried it, dehydrated it.
You're expecting a lot of fire ant bites.
Well, one is enough.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's a good tip. I really appreciate. We have a weed. You don't see it so much in Mississippi as you in northern countries, but all over England, I do a lot of walking. I belong to a rambling group. We go walking for miles every week, and they have this thing. It's called. I just started a total blank. It's got stick. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it just gets all over you. It's a Java just total blank. Nettle, stinging nettle.
No, so what is nettle?
Yeah, it's a mint family, gets up about waist high, but you touch it and it's like fire ants are all over you. But I found you can break off a leaf of a dock plant, which is kind of related to what she's talking about, rub it on there, and it takes the burn away. Anyway, we don't want to get too much in medicinal stuff here on the program because I'm not a medical doctor. But anyway, Kay, a great tip, though.
But you can make it, you can make a little, put that dehydrated, crumbled up plantain in oil, and it says 4 weeks, and you've got an oil.
Okay, I hate to interrupt you, but because I'm a garden expert, not a medical person, we really can't get in there to herbal, to medicinal stuff. I know a lot of people do, but I'm just real sensitive about that because I'm not a doctor, and I get in trouble.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, Kay. But here's the thing: when if you recommend something, we recommend something that's medicinal, that's herbal, and somebody hears it and they take it, they may be taking another medicine that interacts with it. So we just try not to do that. But but a lot of people heard you that it was said, and I heard it that this will help on fire ant stings.
Well, let's say that it helps me.
Okay.
It may not help you.
I appreciate it.
Well,
anyway, it's a great tip, Kay. We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
All righty. We got a couple of callers. I got a little story I want to tell, but I got a really cheesy little tune. It's a snippet of a tune, Java. It's not a long one, but a lot of people are feeling weird these days with the weather, and school, work and the price of groceries and gasoline. Everyday life. And some people get anxious and they don't feel like taking Wellbutrin like I do. And they don't feel like drinking all night. So here's a little tune that's just about attitude. It's a little thing about attitude, and it's from a Monty Python movie. It's called Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. We're going to take a real quick break, me and Java, all the folks here at MPB, and come back and talk with Annie up and Arnie and Carthage, and a little story about something weird that happened to me this past week. We'll be right back, me and Java and all the folks here at Mississippi Public Broadcasting.
Some things in life are bad, they can really make you mad. Other things just make you swear and curse. When you're chewing on life's gristle, don't grumble, give a whistle. And this'll help things turn out for the best. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life. If life seems jolly rotten, there's something you've forgotten, and that's to laugh and smile and dance and sing. When you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing. And always look on the right side of life. Come on, Brian, cheer up.
Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back to the Gestalt Gardener. Gestalt Gardener.
What are you looking on the bright side of life?
No, I just drank a big slug of coffee and got on my goozle. You know, the little hanging down thing in the back of your throat. It splashed on my goozle. I don't know what it's called.
I was about to say, is it a medical goozle?
Whatever that thing hanging down back there is. Anyway, it's what you always get hot sauce on when you're eating Mexican food. Anyway, before we got a caller on the line, but let me tell this story first. I've got bottle trees.
You do?
I've got one in my backyard. I sent a picture of it. That matter of fact, I've got like 18 bottle trees in my yard because I'm a nut. I wrote the book about it, so they're all a tax write-off. And I tend to over-accessorize. But anyway, I got this bottle tree in the backyard, and it's a special bottle tree because every bottle on it is native to Mississippi. It's got barks, which is, bottled down in the coast. Phillips Milk and Magnesia from Pascagoula. It's got a Southern Pecan beer from Kiln. I mean, I've just got all the bottles came from Mississippi, so I'm calling it a native bottle tree. We got native plants. I got a native bottle tree.
What's the blue bottle? Is it
that's Milk and Magnesia.
Okay.
It's bottled in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Matter of fact, they have a plant down there that keeps 1.5 million people a day working.
Wow.
You're too young to get that joke.
No, I got it. just.
But anyway, here's the deal. I've been working with the Daughters of the American Revolution, the DAR, and the Garden Club down in Natchez, and the Master Gardeners. We've been doing a herb garden down at Rosalie, which is right up above where the riverboats land, a whole historic thing. Putting a herb garden, and one of them asked if we could put a bottle tree there, and I'm thinking that's real anachronistic. We're talking about an 1800s house with a bottle tree.
Yeah, I was about to say the timeline doesn't match up.
But it does. Because bottle trees have been here in North America for 400 or 500 years.
Okay.
Yeah, people would bring bottles over and they'd throw them away, and other folks just hang them. We're not going to throw that away. We're going to repurpose it. They hang them in the trees, and they get the old superstition, that Arabian folk tale about attracting genies. The genies in lamps and stuff. That's a 3,000-year-old Arabian folktale. But anyway, so putting bottles in trees, whether you're superstitious or just think it's pretty like too many earrings, they wanted. But I found a tree, a cedar tree, which will last for at least 15 or 20 years. Cut it down, hauled it down to Natchez on the top of my Jeep, tied to the top. It looked like a Christmas tree.
I was wondering because it looks like a Christmas tree without the ferns on it.
Yeah. You put a Christmas tree on top, you drive 400 miles, and not gonna have any leaves left. Anyway, we stood it up, but because of the historic thing, and it is a historic thing, people did this, particularly poor people who just wanted to recycle stuff. Instead of going with modern bottles like Pepsi and all that kind of stuff, we put antique bottles on it that are from that era, as if they were thrown away from that kitchen in the mid-1800s and put on the tree. And one of them is a torpedo bottle. It looks like you could throw it. It looks like a regular bottle, but instead of flat on the end, it's pointed. You can't stand it up.
Yeah, it's like a bulb almost.
Yeah. It won't stand up. And this is because they shipped these things from overseas. They had corks in them, turned them sideways so the cork wouldn't dry out.
Well, now what was in these bottles?
It was medicine and all sorts of stuff like that.
Okay.
But this particular one came from Manchester, England. But anyway, they're the same color as Coca-Cola bottles, but they're antique. They're unique. So we got this little thing down at Rosalie. If you're down there, folks, it's back behind the herb garden. Little bottle tree that came from central Mississippi, hauled on top of a Jeep with antique bottles there, period, to when Rosalie was built. Now, here's the story, though. While we were cutting the tree, I didn't know there was poison ivy on it.
Felder.
I mean, I don't know if you can see between my fingers, but apparently I grabbed a vine between my fingers. And I mean, I've got the best, itchiest, if a body itches, it's alive. I feel great. Thank goodness for Benadryl.
Yeah, yes.
But anyway, poison ivy, hauling a tree down to Natchez, standing up, it's just one of those little things that keeps the ennui at bay.
But also, that's a nice war wound. Like, you were in the garden. You don't just talk about it, you do it.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to do it again later. No, I'm not. Anyway, that's just my little story. My bouquet of the day I brought in, I've got rosemary from the garden. I've got 2 kinds of kale. I've got 2 kinds of old-fashioned chrysanthemum. And I've got this purple stuff they call it purple heart or purple cane. It's cool little old-fashioned plants. So I've got edible, I've got wild, I've got heirloom plants here in my little bouquet. Every week of the year, I'm going to have a bouquet from the garden, Java, because people can do it.
Yeah, it's very easy, and I really like how you always put that out, because as it is turning cold, people are thinking, "Oh, the garden is over."
Nope. Because I've got some little bulbs, some daffodil bulbs. I'm planting them this weekend, so I will have flowers in the middle of the winter. You can have a bouquet from your garden every week of the year without really having to do a whole lot of stuff. Just look around. When you see something in bloom, any time of the year, put that in your yard. You'll have it next year.
There you go.
Anyway, Annie has been hanging on forever from Carthage. Annie, really appreciate it. Hope I haven't bored you too much, but what you got going on today?
No, excuse me,
Arnie.
Yeah.
I have my eyes fixed last year, and I can see all the way over the rainbow now, but I can't read what's right in front of me. What's up, Arnie?
Right. But my wife and I live around the Renfro community, and we got about a 4.5, 5-acre yard, and we used to just be eat up with fire ants. And I found a chemical, and I know some people might not want to use it, but I used a gallon with a 25-gallon sprayer on a boom rig, and I sprayed that, and I have not seen a fire ant in my yard for 3 years. And you can go right outside the yard line where I sprayed, and they're everywhere.
Yeah. I'm almost scared to find out what the chemical is, because it might be killing all the earthworms too.
No, we still got other than my wife was worried about that too, because all she'll plant is native plants. We've got several native plant gardens in the yard and those things, but it's called Taurus SC.
Okay, I don't. That's a brand name. I don't. I don't know what the active ingredient is. So
Yeah, well, I'm not sure either, but I was just gonna let people know. If they don't like them and they don't want them around for a while, that will do the trick.
Okay, if you get a chance, shoot us an email with that on there, so I can look up what the active, because it may be something that you can buy, under different brand names in different parts of the state. But we find out what the active ingredient is. That'll help a lot.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, well, listen, Arnie, I appreciate it, man. I hope you don't get too cold this weekend, but I don't think it's going to be too bad in Carthage, is it?
It's not, but I'm going to be in Grenada. I coach part-time, and we're playing in a semi-final football game tonight.
It's time to put on some long sleeves. So how y'all doing?
Well, we're undefeated so far, so if we win this one, we'll go to the state championship.
Okay, get the boys to warm up ahead of time.
Right.
Appreciate it, Arnie. Thank you, man.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can use out there that'll kill ants. Ants are not hard to kill, Java. But the trick is you got to get all of them, and you got to get the nest. And in the daytime, the fire ants, they forage everywhere. And sometimes it's more effective just to put stuff right on the mound, because that's where they come from. And if you'll treat the mounds late in the day when all the ants are back in the mound, and a lot of times the poison will be gone by morning. But rather than just spray wall to wall, which if it'll kill ants, it will kill spiders and it will kill butterfly, blah, 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 blah. Don't want to get too much into that. But rather than spraying wall to wall, I would do mound treatments where they directly bother you.
But you did give a real tip. Wait till the end of the day when most of the ants are back in there.
That's right.
Because people will say, "Oh, the mound's gone," or it transported to another part of the yard, and the ants are still there.
Well, and I will say there's a caveat. They have fire ant baits you put out. Amdro is one everybody knows about. You put it out there, and it's a cornmeal. It's got oil in it. It's got a little bit of a specific type of poison in it. The ants pick it up, take it back to the nest, and so the baits can be spread everywhere. But as far as just spraying stuff everywhere, I'm just not. I think those days might be behind us, because we really care about all the other stuff out there too. So anyway, good tip, Arnie. Hope your team does well tonight. But let's go over to Neshoba County and talk with Bill. Bill, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Not so bad. What you got going on?
Okay. My granddaughter has a yard with a bunch of trees in it, and in the fall I've been going over and picking them up to put on my garden. But I don't have any trees in my yard. So anyway, she and I were talking the other day. She said, you might not want to come because my dogs got worms, and they were out there for 2 or 3 days before I realized it. Took them to the doctor and got the meds, and now they're fine. But I'm wondering, can I still go pick up those leaves, or are they going to transfer that sickness to my yard?
No, wait. When you say the sickness, what was it again? Was it, you say?
They had worms.
Worms? Okay, first of all, and I'm not trying to put you off, but we have a program at MPB where they talk specifically about that. Dr. Troy Majors and other folks about, what's it called?
No, Creature Comforts.
Creature Comforts.
Yeah, every Thursday at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and because I'm not an expert on it, but I will say that when I was a kid, dogs had worms. That's just what they did. They just, because it was what they were, dogs, and it's not. I really wouldn't worry about it that much, because we're not talking about a lot. So, okay. But again, I'm not an authority on it, but I wouldn't worry too much about dogs and worms as long as we get a good rain and chase them all into the ground. And there's fire ants will take care of the worms. But anyway, okay. I really can't address that directly because I'm not an expert on that.
Okay, I'll give him a call.
Okay, Bill, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, Java, how'd I do on that?
Oh, you did good. Anytime we can sneak in promotion for other MPB shows.
Which reminds me.
You hitting it out the park, man.
Which reminds me, yesterday I called in.
Oh, on Wednesday you called into Fix It 101.
I did.
And you had something going on with your home, and Pam Pybus was trying to help you out.
She is so bottom line. What's the name of her business? You Fix It Like a Girl or Fix It Like a Woman?
Inspect It Like a Girl.
Inspect It Like a Girl. We're going to check all this stuff. No, I redid part of my little cabin, and instead of redoing the wooden floor, which I had issues with, I had a concrete truck back up, and we put a concrete floor in there. And it's just concrete. It looks like a garage. and I'm thinking, you can paint that, you can stain it, you can add to stuff, all this kind of stuff. And I'm not sure about that. I went online, and I got cross-eyed.
Yeah, so probably so many different options.
Yeah, and I called her up, and she said, no, Felder, we got to do this. Matter of fact, she said she's going to come by Monday and kick around some ideas with me. Now, that's pulling in favors. Yeah,
no, Pam, she's the best, and I'm going to give you one piece of advice. Take her advice.
oh yeah, I've listened to her program. She's real bottom line. Got a good sense of humor, but she doesn't mess around.
Oh yeah, not at all.
And that's what that's the way I am. I've got a sense of humor, but I don't mess around with gardening. Either it is or it ain't. And if it ain't, it might be, and I'm willing to learn. But until then, it ain't. I don't know if did that make sense?
Well, one thing that does make sense is we're coming to the end of the show, and let's take this last phone call for the day.
Okay, Anna is calling in from Jackson. Anna, what's going on today? This beautiful, bright, cool autumn day.
It is wonderful. Well, thank you for taking my call, Felder. I have a question, question. So I have quite a few night blooming cereuses now. Mm-hmm. I have been able to repot them, and they just are growing and growing and growing, and so I keep repotting and repropagating. But I have a very big one, like sort of the mother that I say, because that was the first one I got.
Yeah.
This summer, probably a few months ago, I noticed there was this what I like a purple kind of bulb that started growing off of one of the
that's the fruit. That's the fruit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
they call
bigger.
Yeah.
So that I didn't know that they fruited. And should I do anything special to the soil?
No. I can't remember exactly. I want to say it's called dragon fruit or something like that. But if you'll Google night blooming cereus, it's not really a cereus. It's called I can't remember the whole name. Google fruit on night blooming cereus, and you'll see, how big they get, when they're ripe, and all like that. But it's actually a thing. I've seen these things in the tropics, and they just hang off a hillside. They hang out of trees. It's one of those sort of like a Christmas cactus. They don't really grow in dirt. They just need to be anchored someplace. And they are loaded with flowers. They're not pretty plants. This is the plant, Anna, that makes my hair look good.
Yeah.
It is
gangly for sure.
Gangly is nice. I'm gonna say scraggly. In Java, that's a thing, scraggly. But anyway, when they flower, they can make fruit, especially if it's outside and a moth pollinates it. These big moths that fly around at night. So yours must be outside.
It is. It's outside, and I kind of live near water, so we have a lot of flying insects.
Yeah, well, you get these big sphinx moths. They're hawk moths, whatever you want to call them. They come around at night, and so yours got pollinated. It's going to make a fruit on it, and they're edible.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, no, it's really not. It's just we don't notice it because they don't grow all around here. If you live in the tropics, you'd be noshing on them all year long.
Well, so we can eat it.
Yeah, yes, edible fruit. Google it. Night blooming cereus. I can't remember high-low cereus. I can't remember the Latin name off the top of my head. But anyway, it's a cool thing. And take a picture of it and send it to me because you don't see that often. You don't see it that often here in Central Mississippi.
Well, I'll do it. Thank you, Felder. Thank you again.
Can I give you a little piece of unasked advice?
Absolutely.
You don't have to keep every plant that you propagate. You can share them. You can throw some of them away. You don't have to repopulate the world with night bloom. Just because they root, just get a grip, woman.
I'm working on it, Felder. I'm working on it.
I should have said that sounded real misogynistic, and I didn't mean it to come across that way. Get a grip, guy.
I know. I do. I need to work on it.
Anyway, appreciate it. The one I've got came from my great-grandmother, who got it from her garden club president, who got it at a garden club meeting in Jackson, who got it from Eudora Welty.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you go by Eudora Welty's house here in Jackson. They've got a really nice garden out back. They got stuff in full. It's a great little visit right across the Belhaven University. And look on their porch. You'll see a huge night blooming cereus. It won't fit in the back of my Jeep, but they drag it in every winter. But anyway, appreciate your call, Anna. Good luck on that.
Thank you, sir.
I really came across hard on that. I want to,
No, you did okay. You did okay. I do want to apologize to Janie. She was in our YouTube and she had a question about her retaining wall. She sent in some pictures and was asking about ground cover. We'll try to get to it next week.
Forward that to me, and that way we'll be ready for it.
Yeah.
Okay, me and Java and all the other folks here at MPB, we appreciate you joining us, listening live or tuning in to the live stream. It is available on podcast. You can see Granny's chicken. You can see this arrangement. You see this bottle tree. But meanwhile, if you get a chance, go to a farmer's market. Take somebody with you. Show them how to get them to meet people who grow stuff and show them how to do what we do best here on MPB, and that's get dirty. See y'all next week.